It's the halfway mark officially here in Major League Baseball. And what's our reward? We have 3 games to bet on the card. But don't worry, we're still going to find out how exactly we should be betting them because I got 2 of the best here on a morning edition. That's right, of First Pitch here on WagerTalk TV. Adam Trigger and Steve Merrill in the saddle. And guys, we do have WagerTalk today following us, so we're really going to have to sprint to fit in this massive baseball card. Yeah, 3 games. It's almost like they were like, well, we have to put something on the schedule. We don't have a scheduled bye, so we got to get something up there. And we got Houston, Toronto, Mets, Washington, Milwaukee, and Colorado. So not exactly a who's who slate here, but we'll start off here with you, Trig, and we'll talk this Houston Astros and Toronto game because we really set up the weekend set between Houston and the Mets as one of these teams who had a hell of a June is going to get to start a month for the first time with a winning record, and the winner was the Houston Astros. So for you think they keep this rolling? The positive regression that we thought might be coming for this Astros team is finally here. Does it continue as they head on up to Toronto? It's Yariel Rodriguez going to be on the bump for the Blue Jays, and Hunter Brown going to be opposing him. And we got the road chalk here for Houston. So the market's saying they're going to keep on rolling. What does Adam Trigger, who's been rolling, say about this one?
Yeah, first of all, happy Canada Day to all of our Canadian viewers and some of our coworkers.
Steve may have
this
a flag.
Is probably, I believe this is the reason that this is the 3 p.m. game. Canada Day game at the at Rogers Center. And, if you go back and watch the First Pitch episodes the last couple months, I was one of the people saying that, the time was going to come for this Astros team. And that's what happened. 17-8 in June. Dan, you said it at the top, best record in the majors in June, and finally above 500. So they've been rolling. And, I don't know that the Astros are just going to continue to roll their way 10, 15 games over 500, but I think the Astros you saw in June is probably more of what to expect from them the rest of the way. Like, I don't think this team is going to regress back to a team that's ever 10 games under 500 this year. I could see them hanging around the 500 mark, but I think this team the last couple weeks is kind of where I expect the Astros to be. Now, the angle I want to take here would be a play against of Yariel Rodriguez for a couple of reasons. So I've had a chance to watch this guy at Buffalo and at Toronto, throughout the year, and very interesting splits from AAA to the bigs for him. He's looked dominant at the AAA level, like 10 strikeouts in 4 innings, like wipeout outings at the AAA level. And it just has not translated to when he pitches in the big leagues. So why I think that might be the case, and why it's usually the case for especially for starting pitchers, Dan, is the lack of like a third major league caliber pitch. So you can get away with, like, in Rodriguez's case, it's fastball slider. Almost everything he throws is fastball slider. You can get away with that at AAA. You can get away with that at the big leagues if you're a reliever and you come in for an inning or two, or you have a 99 mile an hour heater and only really need 1 pitch to play off of it. But if you're like 94, 95 with like an okay slider, typically 2 pitches aren't going to work. And I was on Baseball Savant earlier and kind of looking at, when Rodriguez uses his third pitch, which is the curveball, and it catches a lot of the plate. And another thing that you can get away with at the AAA level, but big league hitters make their living on that. If you're going to throw him a curveball in the zone, it's typically going to get hit hard. And that's what's happened to Rodriguez so far when he pitches in the majors. Now, the bigger concern for me here, Dan, is the fact that he's not gone more than 4 innings in any outing this season, whether it be AAA or MLB. Part of the reason for that was he missed a month with injury. He was a guy that didn't pitch anywhere in 2023. He was in Japan from 2020 to 2022. Wanted to sign with an MLB team, finally did in over the winter. So there was a period of time where he needed to build his arm strength up, and then he got hurt. So he was out for a month, back to Buffalo, looked great, building the arm back up. But again, still hasn't thrown more than 4 innings in any outing this year, which is concerning because I think that gives the Astros a considerable bullpen edge. So I think you're going to hear a lot of people talk about this game today and say, well, the Astros bullpen game yesterday, so I want to avoid their bullpen today. But I would actually disagree with that. I think the Astros still have a huge bullpen edge here based on the fact that the Blue Jays have the worst bullpen in baseball right now. And it doesn't even show up on all the metrics. If you look quickly, they're not at the bottom in every single metric, but there is no question that the Blue Jays, in terms of high leverage situations right now, have the worst bullpen in Major League Baseball. It's not close. Their WAR is bullpen WAR minus 1.0 is dead last. Yimi Garcia on the IL. Jordan Romano is not coming back anytime soon. They have no high leverage arms. So I would take, the Astros, even with some of their guys maybe getting a day off today. It looks like Taylor Scott's probably not going to pitch. He's pitched 3 days in a row. But you'll most likely have Brian Abreu. He threw yesterday, but he had 9 days between outings, prior to yesterday. So I still think the Astros have a late game edge as well here. And then, of course, Hunter Brown is quietly been one of the most consistent starters in Major League Baseball. He's got 7 straight quality starts. That's almost unheard of in today's game. You just don't see runs like that anymore. So the definition of a quality start, 6 innings or more, 3 earned runs or less. He's had 7 straight, and 6 of those, the last 6 of them, he's had 6 or more strikeouts. So this is a guy got off to a horrible start in April. He's been fantastic, and I don't think that fully shows up yet either. So I guess it's a little bit of a tricky spot for the Astros, having play extra innings yesterday. Quick turnaround, have to go up to Toronto and play what will be a big game for. They usually get a great crowd for this game, the Canada Day game, but I still think the Astros have a big time advantage here, and minus 140 actually feels a little cheap. So Astros probably it won't make my client card because I don't really want to lay minus 140 on the road, but definitely the best thing I see today.
Steve, something that we got Smoking Tree here in the chat, nice and early, that he pointed out was looking towards this Astros team total over. So over the last 2 games, Steve, we've seen 19 runs come across for Houston here. And when you hear Adam speak, it's not like you're in love with this Blue Jays bullpen, and then it's not like the starting pitching that they're putting out has all that much of a sample size on strong pitching this year. I think Rodriguez is sitting right below 6 on his ERA, and it's only like he's gone right over, I think it was 16 innings pitched. So if we're not in love with the bullpen for the Blue Jays, if we're not in love with the starting pitching for the Blue Jays, I get just laying it with the Astros full game. But looking at this Astros team total, if they can keep those bats going, what do you think about that? Or is there another way that you would maybe want to attack this game?
Yeah, so this total opened 8.5. It's now up to 9 at many books. We still have 8.5. So this is a perfect example of having multiple sports books and shopping around, because you can get 8.5 over. You can get under 9 or over 9 even. I'd rather have the 8.5 over. It's worth probably 25 cents at least here in this situation on that key number of 9. The team total is Astros 4.5, but Blue Jays 3.5. And the reason being is that the overnight line is often when they set the team totals. Blue Jays over 3.5 minus 130. So I lean full game over 8.5. Obviously, Houston has to get to 5 or more to get over their team total. And if they do so, the game should get over. But that Blue Jays 3.5 over under is a pretty slow team total, especially since it's Canada Day, as Adam said. This should be a spotlight home game for the Blue Jays this afternoon. It's also an MLB national TV game. By the way, all 3 of these games today and tonight are on MLB national TV, the network, MLB network. So it's a small card, but it's actually a great betting card because they're all standalone games on national TV. By the way, this is really Thursday. It's Canada Day, Monday, July 1st. I'm wearing the red. We all know that Thursday is the real Independence Day, July 4th. This is the July 4th card, Dan, because Thursday is normally getaway day when nobody plays. They flip-flop this week. Every team plays on Thursday. There are 30 teams playing 15 games on Thursday, July 4th, including these 3 matchups. These will all be the 4th of a 4-game series on Thursday. Everybody else starts tomorrow and play 3-game series. So that is why we have such a small card, because they got Canada Day and July 4th, Independence Day mixed up. It's like Freaky Friday on Monday and Thursday. By the way, WagerTalk today, Adam and I will be on later here at noon Eastern. In celebration of Canada Day, it is a press-free zone. I will be guest hosting, and there will be no Canadians on the episode today, so it is safe to watch. I lean over 8.5 in this one. I will point out these teams played back in early April. The Astros got off to a terrible start, as we know, at the beginning of the season. And even with that bad start, they still took 2 out of 3 in this series, and they scored 19 runs in those 3 games. Speaking of money burners, Toronto's been a money burner all season. Adam's Chicago White Sox are a bigger money burner. We all know that. 26 net units down. But the Rangers and the Blue Jays and the A's are all minus 12.5 units. So I don't trust Toronto. I do think it's a focused spot, though, for him today. Therefore, I'll look at the total instead. I'd go over 8.5 in this one.
Yeah, Steve, the only people who have actually been profitable betting the Chicago White Sox are probably Adam Trigger and his clients, because somehow the man picks the spots on that Chicago
2-0 with them. 2-0 with them this weekend.
Yeah.
I played them twice this weekend.
That's what I'm saying.
They won both.
Yeah. Yeah, see, it's a little flex there. I mean, both of our guys are coming in here on Monday, ready and rolling to go. Trig's been seeing it well, like you mentioned, 2-0 with that side there. Steve 17-7 run here in all sports. If you look even almost month long, 22-9 the run that our man Steve has been on. So you want to check them out. And guys, before we get to this next game, we talked the early game, we'll talk the late game, Milwaukee and Colorado. Steve mentioned it is the fourth. Expert job by you, Steve. Not only giving a hell of a breakdown, but also sending some shots at our northern neighbors. That was well done. It's all based off of Prez, of course. So no animosity there. But going on right now, guys, the deal that you can get this 7 for 7. It's a 4th of July celebration. You know, with all of those teams who are in action, you still have going on here. Golf, you can check out. UFC is off this weekend, but continues to roll on. You know, when you got cookouts, you're traveling, you want some action while you're having to sit in that car. 7-day all access, just $7 a day. Check it out and grab these guys for an entire week of action. Start your 4th off with an absolute bang. You'll be seeing fireworks rolling with these two gentlemen. That I can tell you for sure. All right, guys, Milwaukee and Colorado. I mean, this one, Steve, I'll throw it back to you, man, because this feels too easy. We got Gomber on the mound for Colorado. We got Milwaukee coming in here. And Bryce Wilson, it's not like I'm in love with what he's doing, but it's been like, you know, Colorado, we already want to fade. And then it's like when we get Gomber on the mound, especially first 5, look to fade him. I mean, this one seems too easy to just say, Brew Crew, set it and forget it, parlay piece. When it's too easy, sometimes worries me a little bit. What do you think about this price? What do you think about this game?
Yeah, Dan, a lot of times people say it's a trap, right? And I've always said what a trap is when the public likes one side, the sharps like the other, and the line looks cheap to 70-80% of the bettors. I do agree with you. The spot looks like it's good for Milwaukee, and as is often the case, it opened minus 160. I mean, that was 155, 160. That's a moderate price, but here again, the sharp early money has come in on the underdog on the Rockies, and that kind of proves your point that it looks obvious, yet the money's coming the other way. I'm in no hurry to back the Rockies, though. First of all, I like to look at road numbers only in baseball because it encompasses all different types of ballpark. You know, for example, Seattle, San Diego haven't been very hitter-friendly over the years. Meanwhile, Colorado's the extreme example. They've got the thin air and altitude. We have an 11 over tonight for that reason. So you always want to take out home parks, especially for the Rockies. So you look at road ERA numbers this season. The Rockies dead last at home, but they're also dead last on the road. So, yeah, they're the worst pitching staff at home. They're in a hitter-friendly park. But when they're on the road, their ERA is just as bad. In fact, they have a worse bullpen ERA in road games this year. That's how bad this Rockies pitching staff is. So you always default to the over. And as you know, I like to play game one road favorites, better teams. I think they stay focused. Milwaukee going into the thin air and altitude. I like Milwaukee in this spot. I don't agree with the money coming in on the dog. I'm in no hurry to back Colorado. So it would be Brewers or pass tonight, but I know what you're saying. It does look a little obvious. By the way, you could get it on the run line, get it down to minus 105. And with a total of 11 and the fact they're the road teams that they're guaranteed to bat 9 innings, the minus 1.5, minus 105 is probably the better value play in this one.
Yeah, and we're seeing pretty much 11 painted across the board. For you, Trig, I don't know if you have much to add on this one, but I'm kind of with Steve, seeing the money coming for the dog. Like, that feels like an Adam Trigger special. You know what I mean? If there's money coming on the dog, it's a contrarian bettor that's doing it because this just seems too easy to run to the counter. And now that you're getting it south of minus 150 with that line move, if you shop around, you can definitely find that out there. It just seems you don't even have to make it a parlay piece. So can you give me some devil's advocate points here for Colorado, or is this a lay it or pass kind of game for you as well?
Yeah, I mean, I would disagree with it being a good spot for the Brewers. Like, I'm on, but listen, the big reason I played the White Sox twice over the weekend was I was fading the Rockies. So I mean, it's well known that I think they're far and away the worst team in the league. And that's kind of what the point I was trying to make over the weekend, with the willingness to take the White Sox as a home favorite in two of those games, is I do think the Rockies are that bad, but I think this is a terrible spot for the Brewers. They come off of taking 2 of 3 from the Cubs to put themselves at essentially their high water mark of the year. And now it's like, you got to remember too, we're getting real close to the All-Star break, right? And that is like, it's the time where teams, like especially a team like the Brewers, they come in, they're 50-34. They've got to go on the road. And it's like, that's the thing that concerns me, and why I don't think it's a great spot for the Brewers, is because A, they're hitting the road here to play the worst team in the league. B, Bryce Wilson, for as good as he's been, does give up contact. And we know what happens to contact at Coors Field, right? Like, that's not the place you want to be giving up fly balls, and not the place you want to give up a bunch of contact. And then the final thing, in terms of just playing devil's advocate and looking at the Rockies, is their home road splits are pretty significant. It doesn't seem like much when you look at 16-24 at home, but when you put it up against their 12-31 away record, it's pretty drastic. All of their hitting splits are better at home, which I think anyone would be like, okay, well, they play at Coors Field. That kind of makes sense. But I just don't think you can ignore the home road splits for the Rockies, especially now after they come off of losing 2 of 3 against the White Sox. And like, yeah, did they play 14 innings yesterday? They did, that's something that's notable, but this is the worst bullpen in the league by far. So what does that even matter to me, right? Like, it's not like they have like such better bullpen arms at the front than the back that I'm worried about who is running out there for the Rockies bullpen. You have to bet with the expectation that whatever reliever they throw in there is going to be questionable. And, so I think all of that is baked in. So if I had to play this game, it'd be Rockies plus 1.5. The reason for the plus 1.5 for me, I've said this on the show all year, I don't like backing bad teams to have to win the game. Like, the only time I made an exception with the White Sox over the weekend because of who their opponent was. But in a case like this, bad teams find a way to lose games. They just do. And so I would be willing to take the 1.5 in hopes that if the Rockies do find a way to lose this game, it's only by 1. I still cash, and I'm getting it at like minus 110, minus 115. So I'm not I'm not exposing myself to a considerable amount of juice. But Rockies plus 1.5 or pass for me. I think it's a tough spot for the Brewers to have to go on the road and cover, win by more than 2 runs. So I lean toward the Rockies here.
I'll tell you what, guys, if you want to know what the market thinks about this starting pitching, the Yurfie Nerfy split, the yes run first inning is minus 160. So typically those prices are going to be floating more around, a minus 120. And I get it, the 11.5, it makes you go towards that. But yeah, some runs are expected in this one. You can maybe look at some pitcher props. The thing that I wanted to do was Austin Gomber under his total strikeouts. Or outs recorded, excuse me. And that was sitting at 15.5 juiced minus 135 to the under. He's gone 5-1 innings pitched, 6-2 innings pitched. And then he has a couple of 3s in there with a 5. So it was right around that number. If I was getting maybe minus 120, that would be the look for me. But I'm just going to end up passing at minus 135. So hop below in the comments. Let us know how you're maybe looking to bet this short slate. We do have one more game to touch upon here. Shout out Smoking Tree, Tyler GH saying, hey, not all Canadians are as cocky as the Prez. Usually quietly confident. Good to hear, my man GH. Bobby in the chat saying a square AF 6-teamer, all faves, all overs will likely cash today. Best of luck. If you're doing that one, make sure it's even less than pizza money. Maybe garlic knots money for you on that one, Bobby. But hopefully you do cash that. Boat on Sports, shout out to you as well. If you're hanging out with us here in the AM, hit that like button. Make sure you are subscribed. If you're watching us on any of your other social media platforms, hit that follow as well, and maybe even give us a little share. We definitely appreciate that. All right, guys, let's talk this final game. Trig is actually going to be breaking this one down, joining Steve coming up here in what we'll call it 40 minutes on Wager Talk today. So stay locked and loaded here on the channel. But Steve, I'll start with you because it's a new month, and even as great as June went for the Mets and Grimace, they still have to start a month here under 500. Thanks a lot, Astros. So it's Mets against your Washington Nationals. And I mean, for whatever side you want in this, you can get a nice price, Steve, because we're looking at basically split down the middle here. We did have some money come in, not surprisingly, for the New York Metropolitans in the bounce back. It's Peterson, it's Gore, an all lefty affair. What are you thinking in this one, Steve?
It is perhaps once again my Washington Nationals. Not only am I wearing the red today, but if you see in the back corner there, the Nats hat is ahead of the Orioles hat, and that wasn't deliberate.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was
jockeying for position.
Yeah, it is. It's been that way for a few weeks, actually. But, yeah, I thought that was comical. The Nats are maybe passing my childhood Baltimore Orioles because there were no Washington Nationals. They were the Montreal Expos, of course, at the time. By the way, I will be at this game on Thursday at 11 a.m., July 4th. How do you like that? I'm buying a bulk ticket order this afternoon for the 12-year-old Williamsburg All-Star team. We will all be there on July 4th at 11 a.m. watching this game. So I'm paying close attention to the series starting tonight. And Nat fans in general will be paying close attention because 21-year-old James Woods, no, not the actor, and you will know instantly when you see this guy that it's not the actor because he's 6'7" black with dreads and he can hit home runs. But he will be making his MLB debut. He's supposed to make it tonight. I'm looking forward to seeing him in person on Thursday. He was part of that 6-for-2 Padre team, a trade that sent Juan Soto and Josh Bell to San Diego a couple years ago when the Nats completely capitulated to build for the future. And I'll tell you what, it's looking like the right move. Woods is like the third-ranked prospect in baseball. He's batting .353 this year at AAA Rochester, his first year at AAA. Monster home run hitter last year in AA and AAA this year. C.J. Abrams was part of that trade as well. He's been in the lineup for several seasons, some other key players. So a lot of excitement, and we'll see if that carries over tonight for the Nationals. I think it might. So I would lean that way here at home. Also, the Nats have hit David Peterson well over the years. In fact, the current Nationals lineup tonight, not including Woods, is hitting .338, 25 for 74 against Peterson during his career. So I think the Nats are a live look at home tonight, and this will be a very exciting series. And look, never wanted to fade a speeding bullet, right? And I don't read too much into Sunday results, like you said, Dan, because that's kind of getaway day, can be a little bit random. But we all know the Mets are due to regress at some point, and they also lost Saturday. Now, the offense is still hitting, though. They've had 5 runs or more now in 6 straight games. So play the Nats. You could obviously hedge that a little bit with the over in the game as well, because if New York wins this one, they'll probably have to get some runs because I think the Nats will get some tonight.
So, Trig, you are going to be breaking this one down 30 minutes away on Wager Talk today alongside Steve Merrill. But any closing thoughts for some of our live viewers here joining us for the first of many 11 a.m. editions here of First Pitch? You can let folks know what they're going to be hearing from you coming up in less than 45 away when you'll be joining the guys. And also let them know what they can find when they rock with you. $7 per day over the next 7 with that July 4th celebration that we have going. Tell folks about the special and maybe give us a little teaser what you're going to be giving the folks on Wager Talk today.
Yeah, first of all, I can't wait to watch James Wood play. I've gotten to see him a couple of times up here in Rochester. He's got a 1.058 OPS in AAA this year. He's been one of the best hitters at AAA all season. I thought he should have been called up a while ago. He probably would have been had he not gotten hurt. He missed like a month. But yeah, that's going to be very exciting for Nats and that, their fans and stuff. Like he's, easily the top prospect they have coming through the pipeline right now. So that's going to be cool. And I hope Steve gets to see him play in person on Thursday. I think he's a local guy too. I read he's from Rockville, Maryland. Dan, the only
Maryland,
3 people I knew from Rockville, Maryland was OAR back in the day. I feel like you were probably an OAR fan at one point.
How'd you know? Was it the hair? The hair gave away the OAR.
Yeah,
I saw him at Madison Square Garden. Good show.
Yeah, no, I was going to say I used to go watch them in college a little bit. I will give Devil's Advocate on this game on Wager Talk today. I do lean toward the Mets, and I'll go into detail why on Wager Talk today. So definitely tune in, to us at the top of the hour. But I do lean toward the Mets, so I'll make my case on there. As far as what I have up for sale today, I didn't play any of the Major League Baseball games. There's only 3 of them, and I gave you an in-depth breakdown of the Astros on this show. I'm going to go in depth with Mets Nationals and Rockies Brewers on Wager Talk today. I do have a play up. I'm going for my 8th straight win across all sports tonight in WNBA. I think I'm 11-8, 11-8-1 on WNBA this year so far. So it's been pretty good throughout the season. Hit my most recent one last, few days ago. So we'll try to make it 8 winners in a row, and might have a KBO play for the morning. There's quite a bit of rain in Korea, which is, as you know, Dan, will wipe out like the whole slate when it rains. But I may get to the window with one there. And if I do, all of the Korean baseball plays for myself and Tokyo Brandon, I believe through the All-Star break, are half off. So you can find that at wt.buzz/AT. And I still have a Major League Baseball special that gets you everything through the end of the year. So go check that out. It's like $2.99 for the rest of the year in Major League Baseball.
Guys, before we shut some things down here, we talked all 3 games on the slate. Wow, we got it in 30 minutes there for you. That was a sprint for sure. Steve, Tyler has a question here for you. We were, I mentioned we got a all lefty battle there in the Mets and the Nats. He says, do you worry at all about the potential batting splits for both of these teams, as the Mets are top 5, he points out, against left-handed pitching. The Nats are bottom 5 versus left-handed pitching in the recent form, at least. Does that anything that you factor in, or with the bullpens coming in and switching up when you're looking for full game wagers, do you think that kind of evens out? Any thoughts just on those potential splits heading into the game?
Yeah, I do like to look at the splits. You have to be careful the different stats you look at. Sometimes it's like, just the team record, like MLB right now has the team records against lefties and righties. And this year, the Mets are actually 10-13 against left-handers, 30-28 against righties. The Nationals 12-9 against lefties, 27-35 against righties. So on the surface, they both have, the Nationals have performed better in left-handed games than the Mets, but that's like half a game, right? Because a lot of times these guys only go 5 or 6 innings, maybe 2/3 of a game. As I pointed out earlier, though, this Nats lineup is batting .338, 25 for 74 career against Peterson. So they have not struggled against this left-hander current lineup tonight. Something else I want to point out about the Mets, everyone's excited because they're red hot right now. This was actually an underrated team until this current run. So maybe it shouldn't be a surprise. I pointed out how I like to look at road stats only. If you look at road numbers only batting this season, the Mets have really good numbers overall. In fact, they have the best batting average on the road, and they have the best OPS, on base plus slugging, and they have played several less games. They've played 13 less road games than the Yankees have played so far this year. In fact, they played the fewest road games in baseball. Now, that's one of the reasons I think they will cool off here in their near future. They're going to have more road games than home games. But yeah, I think this Mets offense was probably a little bit underrated, and they're starting to show now being the hottest team in baseball.
All right, last thing for us here, real sports bet picks as opposed to imaginary sports bets picks. He's asking Trig, it's rare that we get, it's only if you or Tokyo Brandon are on, that we can get a true KBO expert on the show. I know you alluded towards having a play that you might just like, as long as the rain holds off. Full slate of KBO games. He's asking NE leans. I think any leans is what he's looking for in KBO. So apropos that we'll shut things down here with games that'll probably be rained out in KBO. But anything that stands out that you could run down quick there for our man Real Sports Bet Picks.
Yeah. So actually, the forecast is looking more promising than originally was. It looks like it looks like the rain is heading toward the it's moving north. So some of the games toward the south are gonna probably be okay. I'll throw out one lean. I've kind of talked about this the last couple weeks that I was high on, not necessarily high on the NC Dinos, but I liked the way their schedule sort of panned out coming up. And they were a team that had lost 9 straight at one point, playing tough teams, had to deal with a couple of injuries. But they've kind of had the most consistent import starting pitching this year, meaning their foreign pitchers have stayed healthy and have been the most productive. One of those guys being Daniel Castano, former Miami Marlin. who's now over there for a year. He's having a great season. He pitches, and it's just gonna come down to what the prices are. So before I came on this show, they were not up and they were not widely available. My guess is these lines have probably come out somewhere at this point. I just haven't had a chance to see them because I've been doing this show. But I will absolutely like NC in that matchup with Castano on the mound at home. That being said, SSG is a team I've wanted to fade, and I think the market has kind of caught up on them not being the SSG, Landers team that was, they won the league a couple of years, 2 years ago. Last year they were, in the mix. They've been top 5 most of this year, but I think the market's starting to figure out that they're probably on the decline. So we might not get a playable number right there, but I guess just for argument's sake, quick lean, NC is a side I'll look at for sure.
See, Steve, I got your back. I didn't want you to have any KBO follow-ups, talk any Hanwha Eagles, any Samsung Lions. So I was looking out for you asking the KBO question because these two guys right alongside me are going to be joining you live on Wager Talk today. That's right, Steve Merrill, Adam Trigger coming your way in just about 20 minutes live here on the Wager Talk TV YouTube channel. So, folks, go grab some water, go grab some breakfast, and get ready to go. Noon Eastern, 9 o'clock Pacific. Wager Talk today coming your way. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and hit that little bell as well, because then when we go live like we did right here at 11 a.m., you'll get notified.
Hey, Dan,
you'll never miss any of the ways of getting in front of those line moves. Go ahead, Trig.
Real quick, NC Dinos look like they're minus 210. I'd be willing to parlay anything into the NC Dinos. So if you have a favorite that you like, I would play anything on the board that you like into NC. I really think they'll end up winning that game. It's not going to make my card at minus 220, but I'll be shocked if they lose that one.
All right, so those of you watching on the rewatch, what is your parlay piece with the NC Dinos there? Hop below in the comments. Let us know, and we'll craft a parlay together. We'll be checking those comments throughout the day. Big thanks to Steve. Big thanks to Adam. As I mentioned, you don't have to go anywhere to keep getting all that info you need to cash on all the sports you love. If you're watching on the rewatch, click the video on your screen or check out the links in the description below to keep getting that actionable info. Get you on the right side of those line moves when we're going live here on Wager Talk TV. For Steve, for Adam, I'm Dan Alexander, and we'll see you locked and loaded right back here at 11 a.m. Eastern tomorrow for First Pitch. Until then, best of luck, everyone.